Hello, Fit Pro podcast listeners. I want to welcome all of you guys to the show. I've got a fantastic guest today. Today I have Austin Neztley. Austin is an investor, entrepreneur, and best-selling author. He is also the creator and CEO of 2X, and he specializes in helping business owners go from 6 to 7 figures in 90 days or less by creating a systematic, scalable business. Welcome to the show, Austin.
Andy, pleasure to be here. I'm super pumped to talk about business, talk about growth, and talk about ultimately helping people get free in whatever way we can. So look forward to this.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the value you're going to provide the audience. I've been following you for a really long time, and the value you put out is just second to none. So I really appreciate
Thank you, man. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So that was a very brief intro into what you're up to. Would you mind telling the audience a little bit more about your story and what you're up to these days?
Yeah, so earlier this year, I started a company called 2X, and what we do is we really focus on the foundational stuff. Because what I found working with hundreds of entrepreneurs over the past few years and small business owners is that they don't need more stuff on necessarily even the sales and marketing aspect. That's what we think that we need right away. What we really need is to learn how to build a business. And if you learn how to build a business, you need a great business model. You need a great strategy. You need to make sure that that strategy is the best strategy that's going to help you accomplish your goals. You need some goals. Most people don't even have business goals really. And how are we going to know if we're going to get there? We focus on systems. We focus on structure. We focus on execution and really building a company that can actually grow, because most people don't start a business. They actually just start a job. Yeah. And that's exactly what they didn't get into business for, is to have something that is so reliant on them, something that is not scalable, something that is actually not profitable, something that just tires them out. That's the case with most entrepreneurs and business owners. So what we're doing is taking a different approach. We talk a little bit about the sales and marketing, but we focus mostly, like I said, on the operational stuff, because we found if we get that right, then that makes everything else so much easier. It makes the sales and marketing and the growth so much easier. And our clients are 6 and 7 figure clients, so they're already established. But even so, within 90 days, on average, Andy, they're more than doubling their business, even though we're not focusing on sales and marketing. Again, it just goes back to having a better model, a better strategy, an easier way to scale and profit. And if we just make your life easier as a business owner, then you're going to ultimately grow and grow exponentially. And that's what we really help people do.
That's awesome. Yeah, we were kind of chatting, and I was telling you a lot of personal trainers get in business as practitioners. They're passionate about fitness, passionate about helping people lose weight. But then, as they start having some success, they start realizing that they're working tons of hours, servicing lots of people, and become a slave to their business. And there's like zero freedom,
100%.
Another thing, I don't know if you know this about personal trainers, but we work in split shifts. So we work early morning to see clients before work, and then we work late evening. So, on average, sometimes, and in between, a lot of personal trainers are trying to grow their businesses. So they're working like 10 to 12 hours. What are some of the steps that personal trainers can take to start learning how to scale their business and not be a slave to their business?
Well, the first thing that you got to start with is exactly what you want. So if somebody says that, hey, I want this business that I can make $200,000 a year and I can spend some time with my kids and I can do this, that, and the other, well, we've got to create something where you're in control of the schedule. What you just shared there is most people are a victim of everybody else's schedule. They work in the morning before other people go to work, or they work at other times when people are off work. Well, that's going into their lifestyle, and that's why they hate the business that they created, because it's totally not helping them accomplish the vision. So first, we got to get clear on the vision. What is it that you really want? Get really clear on that. The second thing that you can really do is just figure out what's your positioning. Differentiate yourself. There's so many personal trainers out there that you've got to be able to say, hey, I'm different. I'm the best in this area for this particular reason. If you are looking to do this, I'm the one that can help you. And if you have that proper niche positioning, that what we call $1 million positioning, then you're going to be able to charge a lot higher rates. You're going to be more in demand. It's going to make the sales and marketing much easier, and it's just going to work in your favor. People are afraid to go niche and go a little bit more narrow, because they think that they're saying no to a lot of businesses if they do that. And guess what? You are going to say no to some. But if you go narrow, you're going to have a lot more of the right people say yes to you, and say yes to you at higher prices. And you're still going to get those 1 degree away of opportunities coming to you. So you don't have to say no to all those, but you do want to go a little bit more narrow than most people are.
Right. And I think also when a lot of personal trainers start growing their business, maybe they're doing it by themselves or they have a partner, they are afraid to bring in other staff members that can do, that they can train and teach to how to run their system because they don't think that anybody else can do it as good as they can.
That's
I
what
know you've heard.
every entrepreneur, everyone thinks nobody can do it like me, or nobody can do it as quick, or nobody can get the results. Your job as a business owner is to make yourself replaceable. Your job as an employee is the opposite. Make yourself irreplaceable, right? And that's what we all teach ourselves, because that's what we're all trained to do through education and through school system. Everything is to make yourself irreplaceable. At least that's what we think. So we get into business and we think that we're irreplaceable and we think that that's a good thing. No, my number one job in business is to fire myself and put in the proper systems and team members in place so that I don't have to do anything, that I can sit back and watch other great, smart people execute, and I reap the rewards from that. There's a few forms of leverage that we talk about day in and day out. Those forms of leverage are systems, there's automation, there's putting your money to work, investing $1 to make two, and there's the last form of leverage, which is people. Building out your team and having other people execute your system or your hard work is one of the best forms of leverage. It's what the wealthy people know that most people do not actually implement. So you're exactly right.
Right. And ultimately, when you bring somebody up and you train them in your systems, and even if they can run your system 80 to 90% as well as you can, they're still going to be successful because it's a system that you created, first of all, plus that allows you to have more time freedom to do other things like grow your business, bring in additional leads for your business.
Exactly. So you can work on your business, right? That's exactly well said. If you put together a good system, you can actually get somebody that's 50% as good of you and have them do 90% as good of you in the result. So it goes back to the systems focus, right? If we can really build out a good system, for instance, sales. I used to do sales for our company. Right now, I do not do sales for our company. What I did is put together the proper sales system, hired a couple people, showed them that system, and let them use that system to execute sales in a bigger and better way than I ever would. Right? That's just one particular example.
Yeah.
You can go through every major role that you're spending your time on and do the same exact thing. And like I said, with the right system and even a decent person, that combination is going to be better than what you could do yourself as the entrepreneur.
Right. And I think too, even sometimes, a lot of times you can bring in a staff member that actually will do a better job than you will.
100%. Absolutely.
Just like you said. So why do you think just business owners or fitness business owners in general, or people that own a business, have that hold up on bringing in additional staff members and trying to replace themselves?
So one of the big things is, when you're starting out, every penny is important, right? Yeah. And we're just afraid to invest. And then here's what we do. We go and we try to invest in somebody. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's somebody cheap that we found online. And we expect them out of the gate to do as good as we've done, right? And guess what happens? They don't do as good as we've done. Why? Because we haven't set them up to succeed. We haven't given them the system. Very few fit pros and very few entrepreneurs know anything about the proper systems that they can set these team members and employees up to succeed. So then what happens is they get reinforced the thought of, oh, I should have just did it myself, or oh, I'm just quicker if I can do it myself, right. Or oh, I knew that hiring wasn't for me, or oh, all these stories that they're reinforcing themselves by bad infrastructure, right? So what we're doing is we're figuring out, okay, what's the simplest way that we can succeed here? What's the best way that we can set others up to succeed? What systems do we need to put in place? Again, just making it easy for people to just hit it out of the park. All right. So that's what it is really a combination of not setting people up to succeed, not knowing how to hire, not implementing systems and again, making it easy on them, and then not giving people the support and just reinforcing something that we believe internally, again, through our programming. And that puts us back at ground zero. And then most people stay there. And they stay there and they stay there until they get burnt out. And then they go either, do something different and think that's going to change things, or they go back to the corporate world or whatever it is. And unfortunately, that's why very few entrepreneurs and business owners and fit pros actually succeed. and break through is because very few can learn these things that we're talking about here.
Right. And I think just like you were saying, a lot of personal trainers start their businesses. Maybe they're a solopreneur. They're the only ones doing the training, but ultimately you have to have those goals and that vision of building a business and having staff members. Yep. So that way you can actually be running a business opposed to the business running you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And some people don't want a lot of staff members, and that's okay. Right. We're running a really strong business right now. We do over a 7-figure pace. We just started 6 months ago, and we've got one person that is working more than 20 hours a week. One person in addition to me that's working more than 20 hours per week. So you don't have to have a huge team, but to get to the like a nice pace or whatever your goals are, it doesn't hurt to have a couple team members. Right. And doing it all yourself, again, that's just a job. And what we're trying to do is help people instead of being self-employed. Self-employed is not a good thing. Right. It's just a job that you created for yourself. Is we want you to be a business owner. And that's just a totally different perspective, a totally different mindset. And that's what we're helping people do. And that's what we're talking about here today.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of personal trainers, like I didn't even know for myself when I first got in business, my wife helps me with my business. Yeah. But she would get on to me because I had all of these systems and things in my head, but nothing on paper where I can actually teach her how to do it. So she would get frustrated because she'd come to me and say, hey, how do I do this? Or how do I enter this person into the system? And so I'd have to go over and show her. And like you were saying, I'd be like, I could just do this myself. Yep. So what are some of the ways that personal trainers can get, these systems that they have in their head that are running, that are being successful for them, and put them on paper so that way they can, in return, turn around and implement them and teach them to somebody else?
Yep. Awesome question. And this happens, well, we know it happens every single day. Nobody can see what you see. Nobody can just read your mind. Right. And as entrepreneurs, we think that like other people just know what we know. They think that they can pick things up as quickly. They have no idea what is in your mind. So it's our job as the Fit Pros or as the entrepreneurs or as the CEOs to communicate that. Yeah. And here's the easiest way to communicate that. There's a free tool called Loom, Loom. Use loom.com. What you do is put in your little headphones, press record, and it records your screen and it records your audio as you're talking through. Hey, here's how to enter a new client into the system. And then you press stop recording, and then you save that recording and put it in a spreadsheet and say, here's the exact start of a process. And that way your wife or your partner or your employee can go and see exactly, oh, here's how to do it. I'm walking through it step by step. They can see what you see now, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is the same for goals, and this is the same for the vision of the company and what we want to do. Like, we got to communicate those things. But the best thing that you can do, number one, list out what key systems you need in your business. Okay, I need to know how to enter a new client. I need to know how to handle a billing situation. I need to know how to refund somebody. I need to know, this, that, and the other. And for some businesses, there may be 200 of these items. For other businesses, start with 12. Right? And figure out what things that you can put a system or a process in place around. And the easiest place to start then from there is use these short little videos, either a screencast software. There's a bunch of different tools out there. My favorite one right now is Use Loom because it's super free and easy to share. Just record yourself as because you're already doing the stuff.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You're already doing the stuff. You might as well record it as you go through this. And if you can just start to put together that little library of the processes that you're already executing day in and day out, then you can have somebody else start to take that video and put it into a step-by-step process that other people can follow, right? You don't have to do it as an entrepreneur. You got other better things to do, but you got the video there. You can pay somebody minimum dollars per hour to start to take those and turn them into something that other people can use, or they can just use the video right there. But do those two things. Take inventory first, record yourself as you're already doing the stuff because, again, it's already happening. And that'll give you a good first basis to be able to then, again, give people the proper guidance without you having to spend a lot more time.
Right. No, that's awesome. I hadn't heard of that. Use Loom. I'll definitely include that in the show notes.
It's an awesome tool. They just came out and it's free right now. So definitely take advantage of it.
Ultimately, as a business owner, you have to get the things that are out of your head, those systems you have in your head, and put them on paper, put them in a video format, so that way you can teach them and give them to somebody else.
Yeah. What you're doing with getting them out on paper or on, we use Google Docs a lot. Google
Hmm.
Docs are also free, but you can have multiple people get access to them. You can edit them. They're live documents. You don't have to download anything and whatnot. So we love putting all of our processes and templates in Google Docs. But between Google Docs and some videos, what you're creating are some different assets. And most people as business owners, as solopreneurs, they are the asset. And if they're not working, that asset ain't working or making any money, And what
Right.
we've got to do is figure out what are the different ways that we can create other assets that can then work for us. These systems and processes are a form of assets that can work without you having to work.
Right. And like you were talking about earlier, ultimately, if you want to go from being self-employed to a business owner, just like any other business, they have, depending on what their goals are, maybe you have an exit strategy. And if you don't have the systems in place to sell your business, then there will be nothing to sell, maybe just a client list, but not an actual business.
Exactly. If you don't know your numbers, you don't have a business. If you don't have systems in place that the business can operate without you, you don't have a business. You got to hustle, right? You got a job, and nobody's going to buy a job. Yeah, they may buy a client list, but you're going to get bottom dollar for that. But if you've got something that's a machine where you've got systems A to Z, and you know that you can bring in a new trainer and execute your system and make a certain amount of dollars, now we're talking about something, right? You can either sell it, or you can just keep it as a cash cow, or you can start to franchise and open different locations. There's a lot of opportunities that come with putting together these proper systems in place.
So what other things do you think hold business owners up in regards to scaling their businesses and, actually having them work for them opposed to them being, again, working just as a self-employed person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things that we haven't talked too much about yet is the numbers, like knowing your financials, making sure that your cash flow's in a good spot, making sure that you got different recurring revenue sources coming in so that all your expenses are covered. Just making sure that financially you're set up to grow, but also knowing what your real profitability is. Most people, again, have a certain amount of income coming in, they got a certain amount of income going out, and they're just making sure that that number that's coming in is a little bit higher than what's
Yeah.
going out. But when you get to the point of really understanding your numbers, you can start to see where the real bottlenecks are in your business and address those. But you can also understand how you can invest $1,000 and make back $4,000. And once you get to that point and you can do that consistently and controllably, that's when you've got your own ATM machine. That's when you are officially a business owner. That's when you can officially scale and scale pretty rapidly. And what's it take to get there? Well, it takes a good strategy. It takes the proper systems and execution in place. It takes probably some team members to be able to execute. It takes everything that we're talking about here. Then bringing in the marketing and sales and being able to scale from there. But really having a good model, good strategy, and good systems in place is the foundation.
Right. I completely agree with you. For a lot of personal trainers, that big number that is marketed to us a lot is, to get to your $100,000 mark within your business. For some personal trainers that are struggling to get there, some of these steps we talked about are going to help them get there by setting systems in place. And also replacing themselves. But for that personal training business owner that is at $100,000 already, being successful, what steps can they take to get from that $100,000 mark to maybe $250,000
Yep.
within their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So the good news is it's the same steps. It's just doing them in a little bit better way. When we are, this year in our first year of business, we'll do 7 figures in business. And we have challenges and we have bottlenecks and we have things that we're working on with the different elements of what we call the 2X formula. It's the formula that we put together that basically guides people. And we've talked about a number of these elements here, Andy. But go back to, what's really holding you back. And one thing that we like to look at is mapping out the business. We call it the value chain, from somebody not knowing you to somebody being a lifelong raving fan customer. What are these steps? The first step is, let's say, awareness. They need to learn about you. The second step is maybe they become a lead. The third step is they have they come into your gym, or they have a phone call with you. The fourth step is you close them, and then you work with them. And those are, let's say from a simple standpoint, those are the 5 steps. What you've got to do every single week, if not every single day, is figure out of those 5 steps, which one is really holding you back. Maybe it's your sales conversions, maybe it's your price, or more likely, maybe it's generating more leads. Okay, so then we go back to, all right, how do we generate more leads? Well, first of all, we got to get clear on exactly who we're going after.
Right.
We've got to go to them. We're not going to just magically have them appear. We've got to
Right.
go and see how we can get in front of them. We've got to differentiate ourselves so they actually pay attention to us, right? So again, start by mapping out your business from a high level. Circle where the real bottleneck is. And again, most people will always say that it's in sales or marketing.
Yeah.
It's usually actually not. Here's where it usually is, even especially once they get to the 100K level. Once you get to the 100K level, you're usually spending a lot of your time on the actual training yourself, right? So you can't do more business, right? Because you just can't. First of all, you don't have that much more time, but you can't take a step out of the fulfillment and be able to go and focus on sales and marketing because you're doing too much in the business. So service-based businesses, and we work with so many service-based businesses, personal training included, that the real bottleneck of those businesses is usually actually in the fulfillment. So what we've got to do is to be able to raise your prices. What we've got to be able to do is to be able to streamline what happens once a client signs on with you. Maybe that's a group offering. Maybe that's a really high-end service. Maybe it's just a really efficient execution. Maybe it's batching different days. I'm not sure. There's so many different conversations that we could have around that. That I would answer the question with, number one, start from a high level. What is in your business actually holding you back? What's really, really holding you back? And then we can get granular on what the best strategy is to approach that particular segment. But it really depends on the particular business. And that's the thing, is like there's so many programs and opportunities out there for people to learn about general advice. But what I've learned working with hundreds of business owners is people need to be told what their specific situation is and what they need to do. And that's why, our core program, we focus one-on-one because we need to understand that inside and out. Right. So anyhow, the main point of this is take some time back, to step away from your business, stop working in there, stop, doing the social media or whatever you're using to try to get clients, just for 20 minutes and think about your business from a high level. What's really holding you back? My guess, again, is it's not sales and marketing. It's usually one of the other elements that we've talked about here today that's really holding you back, because sales and marketing should be easy if the other elements are covered. If you've got a good strategy, if you've got proper positioning, if you've got a good niche that you're going after, if you've got a good offer that is just kind of a no-brainer, the sales and marketing is, again, the last pieces that come in.
I think too, I've heard this said before, if you've been operating at $100,000 level mindset, you have to, if you want to get to 250,000, you have to operate at a $250,000 mindset and do what $250,000 trainers, business owners are doing. And that's ultimately how you're going to get there. And that comes back to focusing on revenue producing actions. What can you do on a daily basis to produce revenue, opposed to worrying about, what your post is going to be that day, or does that make sense in regards to?
So what we talk about is we call it the 5X rule. And basically what I want people to think about is, where's your business at right now? Let's say it's at 100K. What we want to do is 5X that and say, okay, we've got this 500K per year business. What's that CEO doing? What's that business owner spending his time on? And literally just map that out. Get on a whiteboard. You've got whiteboards everywhere around me. But get on a whiteboard and map out, here's what a 500K CEO spends his time on. Odds are it's not spending, 2 hours a day or 4 hours a day on Instagram and Facebook. right? It's doing some different, it's looking at partners, it's doing speaking, it's doing a free a seminar for a corporation to try to get 5 clients in, or whatever it is. There's other different, more strategic ways of doing things that's what you got to start with. Is a really good strategy and approach, and it takes taking a step back.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that ultimately it comes down to having, that roadmap in place and the strategies, and then starting to implement them. And again, getting those systems down on paper and having that ultimate goal. What is your ultimate goal for your business?
It all comes together. You're exactly right. Yep.
So we've covered a lot about, systematizing your business. Do you have any other additional golden nuggets for the audience?
The main thing that I want people to take away from this, because we've talked about a lot here and it sounds overwhelming.
Yeah.
Simplify. Let's make this thing easier. I'm guessing 60% of your time, whoever's listening to this, 60% of your time is just totally wasted. Right? We got 24 hours in a day. When you break it down, 24 hours is actually an incredibly long time if you do the right stuff, if you're focused, if you have the proper structure in place so that you don't get distracted by all the other stuff, right? So what I want you to do, don't go and do this all overnight. Don't try to systemize your business. Don't, start recording everything that you're doing all in day one. Take it piece by piece.
Yeah.
Do one important thing each and every day to grow your business, and you're going to be in a completely different spot than you were 30 days ago, right? That's what it is. The reason why we win and why we've got so many success stories is because we are masters at simplifying and making this crazy hard thing called business, called entrepreneurship, called being a fitness professional. We make it way easier and set ourselves up to succeed. And that means the world for all of us, because business is tough. Yeah. So we've got to, first of all, as the business owner, as the CEO, again, make our life easier, set ourselves up to succeed.
Right. But ultimately changing things can be scary when you're in business for yourself, but you just have to look at the success of others and know that success leaves clues, and that if other people have been successful, and if, Austin can teach people how to systematize their business and they're showing that they've been successful, then you can be successful as well.
There's a leap of faith in everybody's journey, right? And if you want the same results as you have now, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to, like you said, 2.5x your business or more, get to the next level, or even, remove yourself and just get a little bit more freedom, you got to do something different. And at first, when you start to make these long-term decisions, such as things like systems, you don't feel it right away. It feels like it's more work, and that's not what you need.
Right.
But if you stick to it, and if you trust the process, which trusting the process is a very tough thing to do. It's painful because we don't get that instant gratification. We don't get those instant likes on Instagram, right? But over a period of a couple weeks, you start to feel it slowly. You get a little bit more free. You get a little bit more headspace. You got a little bit less that you have to do because you put the systems in place. And then you start to get this crazy thing in business called momentum. Yeah. And momentum is absolutely priceless, and is where the real opportunities come. And that's how and that's why our average client is more than doubling their business in 90 days. How? Because we build momentum. How do we do that? By focusing on what matters, committing to it. And guess what? There's a lot of people that probably go 3 or 4 weeks into our program. They're like, oh, this is painful. I don't feel it. I'm not getting the results. And I'm like, trust me, this works. Systems work. All these things that we're doing, they compound on top of each other, and they get more and more and more and more and more until you start to feel it. And you're like, wow, I don't know how I made it, 90 days ago or before. So commit to the process, take it one step at a time, simplify, do exactly what we're talking about here. And I think you're going to absolutely crush it.
I love what you're saying about that those slow improvements, focusing on them daily. That's ultimately what we as personal trainers and fitness business owners are telling our clients. Trust the process, be consistent. You're going to get results, even if they're frustrated because they haven't lost weight or lost inches in 3 or 4 weeks. But ultimately, we have to follow our own advice in regards to business and trust the process and focus on continual growth.
It is a tough thing to, swallow a pill of our own medicine, right?
Yep.
But just imagine where the world would be if we all did that, if we all actually practiced in what we preach. Because It's the same exact thing. You're exactly right. All right. So many of the fitness tips that people are giving are actually super applicable to the business, just in a
Right.
1 degree away kind of thing, right? Take the long-term approach. Like, for instance, one piece of pizza is not going to make somebody fat, right? I'm not going to get fat today if I eat a piece of pizza. But if I ate a lot over time, I'm going to get fat, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with a system. One system today is not going to make you rich. But if you keep doing it, if you keep committing to that and you keep adding these systems over time, you're going to get very wealthy and be an actual business owner, be able to scale something that you're really proud of if you commit to that.
Awesome. Austin, hey, you've delivered so much value to the audience. I know we covered a lot and it could be a little overwhelming for people for what they just heard. How can they learn more about you and what you have to offer?
And we've got a ton of free resources. Go to scale2x.com, scale the number 2x.com. We got a blog there. We've got videos. We've got training on exactly what we've talked about to kind of slow this down, because you're right. We did talk about a lot and we threw a number of things that are a little bit scary and they're not sexy. Building systems is not a sexy thing. Hiring people, that's a scary thing. So how do we do this and how do we do it well and how do we make it easy on yourself? Well, that's what we've got a lot of free resources for you to guide you. And once people are at the 6-figure mark or above and want to potentially explore working with us, then we're happy to talk about that as well. And we've got some awesome clients. But really the free stuff, start there. And I think that'll give everybody the momentum that they need.
Awesome. I will definitely include that link in the show notes. Austin, I want to thank you for your time. We really appreciate all the value you dropped on the audience.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And congrats on what you're doing. Keep doing it. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.